Hey y'all, I just wanted to come on here and kind of share something. I just felt the need to really be real in a real way. So, a lot of us that's been on this spiritual journey, spiritual path, no one wants to talk about the realness of it. I feel like a lot of people always want to talk about the love and light part, but no one really talks about the doom and gloom aspect of the journey. Yeah, it's beautiful and it's spiritual and you learn so much about yourself. But in real talk, like speaking from my own personal experience, it's been nothing but a roller coaster. And sometimes, yeah, the highs are highs, but then there are those really low lows. And right now, I feel like I'm at that juncture of my journey where I notice I'm in this void space of what's next. And I'm so far from where I've come from that I wouldn't even want to go back, nor would I even know the path or direction to even get back there. Right. But then at the same time, it's like you can see all of the possibilities in this space, and that's beautiful. But then it's like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. So you almost kind of feel like, I won't say like you're stuck, but it's almost kind of like, okay, what are all these possibilities? What do they actually look like? What would I actually be fulfilled in doing? And trusting that I'm not picking something just for the sake of doing something, because, most of us, and I'm guilty of it as well, when I feel like I'm backed into a corner, it's like I just want to do something just for the sake of doing it. And it's like, well, no, that's what we're not wanting to do. I don't want to get back into those habits. And at the same time, I'm trying to enjoy the aspect of the journey where you can, I guess, explore those different options and find out which one really works for you, which one really feels like your calling, which one really is the path that you're supposed to be taking. Because from my perspective, you can't really go down the wrong path. You'll always end up, you can detour for sure, but you can always end up finding your way back to where you're meant to be, because that's happened to me multiple times. I'm one of those people that are very free spirited, and I'm not afraid to just kind of try something just for the sake of trying it, because what's the point of giving me all of these different possibilities if I'm not meant to try them? That never made sense to me. So now that I'm trying to be more conscious of the choices that I make and really sit with myself and say, okay, this is what I feel called to do. What does that even look like? What does that even mean? And I know I can't be the only one who feels like that, because collectively I can feel the it's almost like a tug of war. And it feels like there's this push and pull between what we should be doing and what we can be doing. And I was having a conversation with a friend, and I was telling her, I said, it's almost as if I know that I'm moving forward because the journey is pushing me forward, but then personality wise, it's almost like I'm going backwards, almost into a child state. And when I sat with that more, it made sense, because it's like I feel like I never really got to have a childhood, because it was almost like I came out the womb just saying, okay, I'm responsible. So it almost feels like at 34, I've been adulting all my life. And so now I'm kind of in this space where it's like I'm almost in this childlike, what do I want to do? I don't want to do something just for the sake of doing it. I want to try everything. I want to have all of these, different things of what I can and can't be doing, so, and having fun with it and trying to have fun with it. But then at the same time, there's that logical aspect of ourselves, that adult self of ours, that's like, what are you doing? So it's that tug of war almost within, but then finding the peace and being in the center and staying centered. So I wanted to come on here and just kind of say, you're not alone if you feel like you're in that space and don't understand what that space is. I've been calling it the darkness before the dawn, even though I can totally feel and sense the dawn is here. It's still being illuminated. The path is still being illuminated for me to see, but it's like it's doing it a step at a time. It's almost kind of like Spirit is saying, I'm lighting up your path, but I'm not lighting it so much where you are able to see the full steps, because then I guess in some sort of way it's like, what's the fun in that? Which is true, but then at the same time it causes you to really have to like sit back and reflect on, are you really trusting the process? Are you trying to understand where you are, and also figure out what triggers you into wanting to have control over what's going on. I know for me, that's been like the biggest thing is I trust the process. I trust the universe. I know that the divine is working in my highest good for my highest favor. But then there's also that aspect of me that's like, okay, I need at least like 3 steps at a time illuminated. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that control factor, and just being like, okay, if you're going to trust the process because you've been having to trust it all this time, it's like at some point, when are you just going to completely just be okay with how the process is really unfolding? And that's the beautiful part of it. That's where you do gain the love and light. That's where you start to have fun with it a little bit more, because as you gain more clarity, as you get through that next step, it's like, okay, that wasn't so bad. It wasn't as bad as I was making it. But when you're in it, you're like, this is horrible. Like, I don't like this place. So right now I'm kind of like in that place where I'm grateful for the journey. I'm grateful. I'm feeling and I'm sensing all of the newness, the goodness, and all of that. But at the same time, it's almost like you want to crawl out your skin a little bit. Like, I was sitting here and I was just saying, like, I really want to make physical changes to myself. But then I was like, am I doing this based off of because that's something I can control? I can change. Like, I was thinking about like cutting my hair. I've been talking about cutting my hair for like the last 2 years, but I've never actually done it. So the fact that it's coming up again is making me question myself. Am I doing this because I really do want like an actual physical change and I actually do want to cut my hair? Or am I doing this because this is some way of me saying I have some control over some aspect of my life? Because being consciously aware of the journey, you find that a lot of it, if you're really if you're really on the path and you're really trusting divine timing and allowing divine unfolding, you don't have control at all. And a lot of us are used to being in control. I know I am someone who, although I'm free-spirited to a certain extent, but there's still a part of me that still wants to be very cardinal about my path, because that's just who I am. I'm like, okay, tag me in. What's the next step? Let's just go with it. I have very cardinal energy where I just want to take off once I get the information. But it's almost like Spirit is telling me, it's almost like it's what I'm hearing now as I'm even recording. It's almost as if Spirit is saying, can you allow me to, take the reins and be the leader of the team? Can you be co-captain? Like, I want you to still be a part of the decisions and help me co-create, right? But can you be the co-captain? Can you sit in the passenger seat and allow me to drive and just chill? And it's like, can I? I mean, I feel like I've been doing it thus far, but in this space of where I'm at, it's like, is that something I can really do? And do I have a choice? So it's one of those things. I just felt like I wanted to kind of come on here and see if other people, like, kind of check in with everyone and see if that's how they're feeling, or if I'm the only one. I know I can't be, but you know, I'm someone who introspects a lot, especially when it comes to my emotions and my feelings, because I have to kind of like almost self-talk with myself and be like, okay, girl, let's sit here and let's figure it out. Like, why are we wanting to do this? Not everything requires a why, but when it comes to like big changes, it's like, okay, where is that stemming from? Where is that coming from? Is that coming from a place of where you feel very like, this is something I have to do? It feels good when I think about it. It feels good when it came to me. It wasn't coming from a place of lack. It wasn't coming from a place of trying to control. It was coming from a genuine place of just saying, you know what, I'm just really ready for a change. Or is it coming from a place of, I'm just trying to say I have control over something, because at this rate, I can't even control the radio in the car. Okay, I'm just sitting there in the passenger seat with my seatbelt on, and that's it. So I wanted to come on here and just kind of be real about it, because again, I'm all about love and light, but I'm also about being like really honest and authentic about the aspects of the journey. Like, yeah, eventually you do get to that point where you're like, oh, everything is great and glorious. And then next thing you know, it's like doom and gloom. I always related to, like, I don't know how many people watch Stranger Things, but I promise you, sometimes the journey be feeling like I'm in the upside down, and I don't understand how I got there. Because sometimes that's just what it feels like when you're in that space of just like trying to see what that is. But if you think about it, that's your shadow aspect, right? That's, to me, when I watch Stranger Things, the top half of Hawkins is like the regular everyday how we are, right? And then the upside down is it's the complete opposite. So when you think about it, it's kind of like your light and your shadow, and basically trying to figure that out. And you're trying to escape the upside down, but you have to figure out first how you got there, why you're there, and then eventually you can see your way out of it. You can get back into the regular fold of being not in the upside down. So that's kind of like how I look at things in like analogies and those kind of things. So when I'm in that place of like, I'm like, okay, I'm back in the upside down. What's going on? And when you start having those real conversations with yourself, you can figure that out and you can get out of it. It's just people don't talk about it enough. People just want to talk about the part when you come out of it, but people don't talk about when you're in it. And I feel like in the spiritual community, that's something that we have to be more real about, so that we can reach out when we need to reach out. A lot of us are still too very strong where we're like, oh, I got it, I got this. And it's like, no, this journey gets real. And you can get to a place where you're in the upside down and you can't find your way out of it. You're like Will in the first season. You're just in there, okay? And then eventually you start getting creative. And hopefully when you start reaching out, somebody catches those cues, like his mom did with the lights and all of that. So I just wanted to kind of like come on here and talk about it because, it should be real. It really do be. And it's like, yeah, it's a beautiful journey. I've learned so much about myself and how I operate. And even the fact now that I'm able to say, like, I'm now starting to ask myself those questions before I start doing things, because I've had the tendency to jump into things and be like, oh, well, I can float. And sometimes in the journey, you can't just float. Sometimes you may have to swim because you may get knocked off sometimes, and I feel like it's important to talk about it because that's real. And the journey gets dark really fast and really fast. And it's hard sometimes. It really is. It's a struggle sometimes. And then to have to like pretend like everything's okay. And it's like, that's not the journey. That's not how it's meant to be. You're meant to be your most authentic self in the journey. So if you feel like crying, cry. If you're mad, like, it's like honoring yourself and honor your feelings and honoring where you've come from in the journey, where you are in the journey, and then what's next. So I just wanted to come on here and like be really authentic. Like, you can see I'm being authentic. I got my bonnet on, like, no, like, I'm not like no makeup, no nothing. I'm just like, because at the end of the day, it's like I'm having a real conversation about the shit that's going on. And it's like, I can appreciate somebody being like, girl, this journey is not just love and light. It's doom and gloom. It gets dark. It gets very lonely. It gets isolating at times, because you get to the point where everyone and everything that you've known has fallen off, right? And you're like, yeah, that's okay, because they weren't really good for me, or they served their purpose, and I understand why that ended or why that happened, and so on and so forth. But then when you look up, you like, I don't have nobody. And that's okay too. But then at some point, it's like, I don't want to be like this forever, you know? And it's like, then it's like, okay, find your soul tribe. People don't talk about being adults, how hard it is to find friends. And not even just friends. You want people when you're consciously wanting to be, when you consciously want to be aware of who's around you, because you really start getting into like, because you don't want to get back into those habits of where you just have friends for fillers, or you just have people occupying your space because you don't want to be alone or feel like you're alone. And so you don't want to get back into that space. So you become more conscious of who you have around you. But people don't talk about the part where you're an adult and you're trying to make friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you were in school, I mean, it was different, right? Because you were in school. So you were able to play on the playground and all this other stuff. But as an adult, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you make friends? And you just have to hope that the people that do come into your life, they're in alignment with who you are and where you are now, because that gets tricky too. Because if I'm in a different place spiritually and so on and so forth, I want the people that are around me, they don't necessarily have to be exactly where I'm at, but we have to be in alignment. Because if you're not, then I'm back into that same space of feeling like I'm just having filler people in my life. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, all that stuff is real, and like, no one talks about it. And I'm just like, I'm confusion, because I'm like, that's the biggest part of the journey for me thus far, from what I've understood, is like the isolation, the feeling alone, but knowing you're not alone, the feeling of, I'm so far out of myself, and I'm so different from who I was and where I came from. And I'm so looking forward to this new person, or this version of myself that I've been imagining and trying to self-actualize. I'm so excited about that. But there's that void in between. It's like when you're reading a really good book and you're in between chapters, that's what it feels like. And so I just wanted to come on here and be like, you're not alone. It's okay to feel like that. Know that it won't always stay like that. And know that, you're not the only one going through it. And that your path is being illuminated. Everything's unfolding in divine timing. It's not always in our timing. It's literally in spirits, because we're meant to be co-captains, aka co-creators. And so, when people be like, Jesus, take the wheel. Yeah, this is literally that. So we're meant to co-create and see the possibilities, see the limitless possibilities of what could be and what's next, and take it all in. And as the passenger, it really allows you time to kind of reflect, because you're not driving, so you're not concentrating as much on the journey. You're able to kind of take in all the scenes, right? Because I know when I'm not the driver and I'm the passenger, I'm always looking around me and taking it all in, because you get a different perspective as the passenger than you do as the driver, right? Because when you're driving, you have to pay attention to the road. You got to make sure you're not hitting nothing. You got to make sure nothing's in the way. And as the passenger, you don't have to worry about that. All you got to do is ride. So also with that, just saying that, try to look at it from that perspective of saying, yeah, I'm in the passenger seat. I may not be driving, But this allows me another perspective of all the possibilities that are around me, all the possibilities and opportunities that are being offered to me at this time. And now it's just about which way we want to go, and being okay with that, and knowing that you can go down that road and know that it's not a wrong road. It may just be a detour. And the good thing about detours, you can always find your way back to the main road. So so I guess I want to say, don't be afraid to try things, even if it's not exactly how you want it to be or planned it to be. Maybe it's just a detour. Maybe that's something you need at this time so that you can come out of this space, and then it allows you to go into the next. Okay, so just food for thought. Other than that, have a beautiful day. Take in everything. Make sure you get out in nature, connect, take in some of this energy. We have crazy energy happening right now. A lot of good downloads, a lot of allowing us to remember who we truly are. We have a 7/7 portal coming up. When I think of 7, I think lucky number 7. So right now we're in that energy where it feels like we are going to be coming out of this void soon. And so a lot of us may be going into a detour. A lot of us may be knowing exactly where we're meant to be at this time, and we're being taken to that. We're shifting into, realities that we're meant to be in, and trust that the plan is unfolding the way it's meant to unfold. Okay, so love you guys. Stay strong. Hydrate. Get some sun. Center yourself, and also most importantly, just this last note, I noticed while being in this spot, it's kept me in such an act of gratitude, because I am thankful for where I am and where I've come from and where I'm going. And I'm thankful for that because I'm conscious of it. And a lot of us are going through life unconsciously. And so I'm thankful that I am aware enough of the journey, even in this space. So practicing gratitude is probably the most important thing. And a lot of people talk about it, but I can really actually come on here and say practicing so much gratitude, even just to change your vibration. If I'm feeling a little like, okay, I'm feeling like my vibration's kind of in the upside down, or I'm trying to go to the upside down, I practice gratitude. Even if it's just writing 5 things that you're grateful for. We can always find 5 things. And if 5 is too much, maybe start off with 1 or 2 or even 3. So I practice gratitude every day. I do it during the day. I do it at the beginning of my day, at the end of my day. Because again, it keeps my vibration at a good place. And it reminds me that even though I may not see all of the steps, I may not know the entire plan, I'm grateful for where I am. And I will always be eternally grateful, no matter how dark it gets or how light it gets. So just wanted to throw that out there as well. All right, loves. Have a good one. Stay positive. Keep your vibrations up. Get out in nature and know that it's okay. Everything's unfolding. Divine timing. Abundance is here. Opportunities are here. And just know that you are on the right path, even when you don't feel like it. All right, loves.